Welcome back. Great to have you here today on our Wellness and Weight Loss Wednesday show, where the topic is going to all be about our digestive system, our gut, and how it is intimately linked to inflammation and our immunity, as well as our predisposition to gaining body fat. I want to show you the direct connection today. And after today's show, I really believe that you will no longer buy into the fact that it's all about just calories in, calories out, because honestly, nothing could be further from the truth. You, of course, can't overeat. That's certainly part of it. But losing weight, maintaining a health, fit, physical physique has far more to do with metabolic balance. And today we're going to talk about that digestive system and inflammation and how it is hurting a lot of people when it comes to this particular pandemic and virus, but also how it's causing weight gain as well. It's a topic that I wanted to bring to you for quite some time. A little strange when you see gut-adipose axis, but whenever you see the word axis, all that means is that it's a loop. So think about this. When we talked about before, your hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. Well, your inside of your brain, your hypothalamus tells your pituitary gland to tell your adrenals what to do. Create more cortisol, create more norepinephrine, whatever it might be. And then when it doesn't need it, it also says, hey, don't create any more. So there's this feedback loop, and it's the same with the digestive system and same with body fat. They are intimately connected, and I want to share that with you right now. So first things first, when we're talking about the digestive system, I always want you to understand it's not just about the food you put in your body. It absolutely matters. So think about this. Good food in, hopefully we have a good digestive system, but it's not always the case, because up to this point in your life, you've probably lived a couple decades by now. There's most likely been some antibiotic use, maybe for women, some birth control. There could have been major stresses in your life that thrown off your gut bacteria. There could have been food poisonings. There could have been alcohol consumption, a lot of fried foods, poor food combining, etc. Anyway, all of these things, because again, there's so many more, all of these things can disrupt the gut microbiome. And when you hear the word microbiome, all you need to think about is all the different bacteria and yeast that work together. It's literally its own ecosystem, like your garden. You need all the different gut bugs and all those things there. They're supposed to be there, but they have to work within balance. Now, I've shared this with you before, but there are 4 to 5 main ways your digestive system gets thrown off. So I want to share that with you right now. And then we're going to talk about this delicate balance and why inflammation in the gut actually leads to body fat gain. So I think this can never be repeated enough. And I know we have a lot of health practitioners listening to the show as well, which is great. And we really want to teach it to our patients and our wellness clients. And that's this, is that your digestive system is inflamed. It's off for about 4 to 5, like I said, main reasons. Okay, certainly the food you put in it matters, but we're just talking about the microbiome right now. So you might have H. pylori overgrowth, which is a bacteria that can overgrow in the stomach. Again, all of these things can come from water or contaminated food. You could have parasites. Again, water-contaminated food. You can have overgrowth of bacteria, even good bacteria in your gut. It can be overgrown. Not a good thing when it's overgrown. And yeast overgrowth as well. Typically, we consider it candida, even though there's many different strains of candida. Okay, so we've got overgrowth of H. pylori, we've got parasites, we've got bacteria, and we've got yeast. Any one of those can throw off the balance inside the digestive system, which then creates inflammation. We'll talk about that again in just a moment. But then there's also food sensitivities, right? Those are the foods that you put in your body, even healthy ones, that are causing inflammation. The amount of people that have an IgG sensitivity to egg, specifically egg white, would really blow your mind. It really would. If you were sitting in my seat and got to see all of the different thousands and thousands of labs that we run each year for food sensitivity, you begin to understand that many people have a sensitivity to what they would consider, quite a healthy food. And I'm not on the anti-egg train at all. I think it can be a very healthy food for people, a complete food, when they're not sensitive to it. But if you're sensitive to it, what does it do? Well, it creates inflammation, because the immune system, those immune cells, the immunoglobulin G cells specifically, can begin to attack those amino acids, that strain that it sees inside of the digestive system. And it can actually wait until those amino acids move outside of the digestive tract through the intestinal wall, or they can actually go straight into the digestive tract, causing inflammation. Now, again, bacterial balance is important. Parasites, getting rid of them is important. Yeast overgrowth, important. So what happens though? Well, we get this inflammation in our digestive tract. Why does that matter though? Well, believe it or not, research has actually shown something called, they're calling it CB2. And I've spoken about this on previous weight loss based shows. But again, this is just so many levels below or so many levels above it, depending on how you want to look at it. I always talk about peeling back the onion. So I guess I would say lower than inside of. When people say, hey, you just need to exercise more and eat less. Anybody telling you that, I'm sure they are well-intentioned, but they are misinformed, because hormones, inflammation, all of these things have a far greater effect than calories in, calories out. And that is because our metabolism is predicated on our body's ability to utilize the food that's been put inside of it. And so that is why you can have two people, same exact height, one weighs 50 pounds less than the other, and yet they might eat the same food every day, or the person who's lighter, weighs less, may eat twice as many calories as the other person, because their metabolism is faster than the person who's gaining the weight, their metabolism slower, yet they're the same exact height, right? So again, we have to look at things beyond just the surface level. The surface level is great to start with, but after you've reduced your caloric consumption to a normal, right? We don't want to go sub 1,200 calories. You need to sustain yourself on good food. But once you've lowered your calories to a certain amount that's good for you, and I've done other shows on this as well for what to look at for your calories, and you've partook in an exercise program and you've plateaued, it's time to look beyond just the dieting, right? It really, really matters. So let me share with you this. There are messengers in our body called obesity-generating messengers, and they are actually inside of the adipose tissue and inside of the gut. Now, here's how they're related. When your digestive system is imbalanced, you create inflammation. Okay, now we're referring to it a lot as inflammaging. But what happens is this. We get inflammation inside of our digestive tract. Now, our digestive tract happens to be about 28 feet long. And if you were to spread it all out, it would cover a tennis court. So if you were to spread out those microvilli, the villi, that would literally cover a tennis court. So here's what you want to look at that. That is from your, well, it goes down your esophagus, but let's just say from your stomach, the bottom of your rib cage, all the way down to essentially your lower hip area. All of this is your guts, right? It is your esophagus, it's your stomach, it's your small intestine, it's your large intestine. So when there's inflammation there, that inflammation doesn't stay put just in your digestive system. There are messengers. There's inflammatory messengers that are then sent out through your body. And when your body becomes inflamed, this low-grade inflammation from the H. pylori, the parasites, the yeast overgrowth, the bacterial overgrowth, the food sensitivities, and of course, the alcohol, the things that we put into our body, that low-grade inflammation then causes what? It causes immune imbalance, hormone imbalance, and weight gain. Now, I've done a whole show on this as well. I'm going to link it up for you today at stephencabral.com/1846. It's all about inflammation, cortisol, and weight gain as well. All of this comes, again, partly from the gut. So what happens? Okay, well, we've got this inflammation. Okay, it leads to then weight gain. Well, here's the interesting thing. Weight gain, adipose tissue, the more body fat we add, what happens? Well, the more inflammation we produce. Adipose tissue in excess of what our body needs and is fueled by our current inflammation in our gut, and then the poor foods we might put in, then creates more inflammation. Well, what happens when we create more inflammation? Well, we gain more weight. Well, what happens when we gain more weight? Well, we create more inflammation. We also create higher levels of environmental, or I should say endogenous estrogen, meaning estrogen that we produce from our own body. Well, what happens when we produce more estrogen in our own body? We gain more weight. Thyroid begins to start to lower. And we might even turn more towards then comfort eating or greater amounts of fasting, which then only what? Slows our metabolism. So we have to understand is that there are layers to this, as I've said before, and you have to be careful who you are taking advice from. If the surface layer is all that we're looking at, you'll say, yes, go low carb forever, go keto forever, do excessive workouts. That is only going to work in the short term before it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, now you've lowered your metabolism to an even greater degree. So if we want to stop the cycle, what do we need to do? Well, we need to stop gaining weight. So we stop producing more inflammation, which then causes more weight gain. Okay, well, we want to stop gaining weight. What do? Well, first, we use some of those great suggestions, right? We look at not just the calories, but the quality of our food. Are there any antioxidants to that? Why might we want antioxidants? Well, we might want antioxidants because when we have inflammation, we have oxidative stress, which causes the aging in our body. So a lot of people say, well, just eat pork rinds and fat and you'll be set. Well, you won't, because there are not antioxidants in those things to the degree there are in fruits and vegetables. You might say, well, I can't eat any fruit because it's going to spike my blood sugar. And I would say, well, in the beginning, that might actually be true. But in the long term, you need it. So what do? Well, we get those blood sugars back in balance. Why? Because inflammation can also cause an increase in what's called insulin. So if you have not heard of insulin before, or blood, I should say, let me take one step back. So when we have inflammation, we have a stress response in the body. When we have a stress response in the body, our body typically will break down stored glucose from glycogen in order to be able to bring a fuel source for that stress, right? That stress response. Then our pancreas begins to produce more insulin, and insulin can create, hopefully, a way for sugar to get into those cells. But if the cells are already full, if the liver is already full, if the muscle cells are already stored full of glycogen, what happens? Well, then it becomes body fat. And when it becomes body fat, what do we have? Well, now we have more endogenous inflammation caused by us, and higher levels of estrogen. So that is why I tell you this. If you have not looked at your gut health in terms of trying to help you lose weight, it's imperative that you do so. The very best thing that you could do would be to run an at-home functional medicine lab. You can run that through the company that I have open sourced these labs through, because you do need to do it through a doctor, and that is Equilife. That's EQUI.LIFE. But you can also run it with a local naturopathic doctor or functional medicine doctor or integrative health practitioner that's a level 2 certified. So what would that look like? Well, you can run the Candida metabolic and vitamins test to look at yeast overgrowth and some bacterial overgrowth. Or I should say, if you can do both goes great, run the parasite and bacteria stool test, which will then look at parasites, H. pylori, and it will look at bacterial overgrowth. And there's one more lab if you want to run them all, and these are all at home that you can do. Very, very simple, straightforward, at home for you or your family. You can run the IgG food sensitivity test to see what your food sensitivities might be that are causing inflammation from a delayed response a day to 3 days later, because that is actually what we're talking about. We're not talking about immediate bloating. We're talking about delayed inflammation that could then result in what? Well, of course, weight gain, but also skin issues and headaches and migraines and lethargy and brain fog, you name it. So we look at the gut first, and then if we see an imbalance, we go about rebalancing the digestive system. But again, there are layers to this, and you don't have to use it, but I highly recommend that you check out what's called the CBO Protocol. You can find that at equa.life as well. The reason why I recommend that is because it works. It's guaranteed to work. Thousands and thousands of other practitioners use it, and it's been formulated well for a decade, meaning like it's been refined over a decade for it to work. But again, you don't have to use it, but you need to know how you rebalance your digestive system. That's very, very important. If you find parasites, you'll do a different protocol for that. If you find H. pylori, then you'll add on a protocol for that. But again, all of these things can be corrected. Now, here's the good news, because it also helps the immune system. And I talked about this quite a bit on yesterday's show. But when your immune system, when your body's inflamed, your immune system suffers. And it's why we see right now with this particular SARS-CoV-2 virus that the majority of the people who have the greatest risk for mortality are obese. They are overweight. And it is why when I talk with people all the time, and I do hundreds of other podcasts and interviews, I say, this is not about a best body type. It's not about that at all, right? It's not about how thin you are, anything like that. It is about body acceptance. There's no doubt about that. But if you are over a 25 BMI, you just have to know then you are putting yourself, and again, I'm not saying like that makes you bad or anything like that, but I am saying it is. You're putting yourself more at risk for cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and then things like this, like viruses that come up. And that is because your body is inflamed. By being overweight, you are in fact then inflamed. And I'm not saying it's not more difficult for some people to lose weight than others. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not even saying that that's fair. It's not fair, right? But it is. And for me as a practitioner, I always have to speak the truth. Always first the truth. But I also want you to know is that there is hope for you, because a lot of people have given up hope because they've already tried 2 dozen different diet plans. They've worked with personal trainers. They've worked with nutritionists. They've worked with bioidentical hormone doctors, all that. Well, look at this. I want you to look at a deeper level. I want you to look at how is your gut functioning right now. And it's going to take 12 to 16 weeks to rebalance it. But the good news is this. The results come and they keep on coming. And the nice thing is you no longer have to fight every single day to keep the weight off. That when your body is balanced, these obesity generating messengers, right? The CB2 receptors are going to be less, meaning that you are not going to have to struggle in the same way in the future. That you are going to be able to maintain the weight without all the exercise. Should you exercise? Yes. You're going to be able to maintain the weight even with a flex meal or a cheat meal once a week, maybe even twice a week. You're going to be able to, because your body is not inflamed. That it's back in balance. Remember, balance is always the key. Balance allows you, the stronger your balance is, it even allows you to miss a workout. It allows you to have that cheat meal because your body is balanced. When it's imbalanced, when it's inflamed, we age faster. And we also suffer all the repercussions of dis-ease in the body. So I just wanted to bring this to you today and just allow you to know that there's always an answer. There really is. Sometimes it's not the simplest answer. I understand that. My answers to get well were not simple at all, but they were always there. Luckily, it took me a while, but luckily I discovered them. And when I did, my body began to heal. And honestly, it's better every single year. I've been well for a long time now. I really have. But I still, every single year, feel like I'm getting that much healthier, that much stronger. And that's what I want for you. So takeaway would be to see, are you inflamed? Are you imbalanced at all? You can run a lab test. I will link those up today. StephenCabral.com/1846. Remember, you never need to run them through Equalife, but if you run them through Equalife, you get an actual consultation with one of my certified health coaches, and you get a plan that goes along with it. Most others are not going to come with that. Now, you can run it with other practitioners. There's no doubt about it. And if you have a practitioner and you trust them, I highly recommend, again, that you run the lab test with them. Okay, it's going to be the lab test that I link up. It's 3 specific lab tests. Now, say you can't afford the lab test, you don't want to run the lab test, that's okay. At least then begin to look into something like the CBO Protocol with the citracidal drops. And again, we can't link, I should say, not again, but we can't link those up. So not allowed to be linked up on a web page when you're talking about certain diseases. But remember, I am not telling you how to treat a disease. I'm not telling you how to cure a disease. I am not giving you a diagnosis. In natural health, we don't do that because disease is a manifestation of an imbalanced body. We help you get to the root causes and rebalance your body. That's what being an integrative health practitioner is all about. Not treating disease, not curing disease. Disease will no longer be able to take hold in your body if your body is balanced. You just have to understand that. You have to believe that. And then what you will do is once your body is balanced, you will maintain those results. Now, you will have more flexibility, but you will maintain those results. So that's what I'm recommending. Many more podcasts on how to maintain those results, but hopefully this show was helpful because remember, if you're having difficulty keeping the weight off, if your immune system does not seem to be where it should, if you feel like you're in that vicious cycle of just gaining weight and gaining weight, there is a reason why. Check out that Gut-Adipose Axis, and I think you'll be able to get to the root cause of why you seem to be so imbalanced. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I hope this was helpful. If I can clarify anything, if I can answer a comment, I'd be happy to. Simply leave it right on Instagram. You can just go to my name. It's Stephen Cabral, StephenCabral. You'll be able to see today's post. You'll be able to ask that question, leave that comment, and I'd be happy to get back to you. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. And all the links are available at StephenCabral.com/1846. And of course, please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve.